Hello and welcome to episode 200. This is the Project Management Podcast at pm-podcast.com, and I am Cornelius Fichtner. Nice to have you with us for this milestone. When I started thinking about what to do for episode 200, I knew that I definitely didn't want to do a self-congratulatory anniversary episode. So I decided instead that I would be lazy, take a step back and ask 20 thought leaders in project management one simple question. In your opinion, what is the number one challenge that project management is facing today, and how do we best address it? The responses I received are as varied as the people I asked. In total, we have over 1 hour of insights, which is why episode 200 consists of 4 parts. Parts 1 to 3 are all the audio responses, and part 4 are the videos that we received. And now, without further ado, here are Josh Nankivil, Mark Perry, Margaret Maloney, Tom Mokel, Max Weidman, and Jason Westland with their number one challenge and solution to project management today.
Hi, this is Josh from pmstudent.com, and Cornelius asked me, in my opinion, what's the number one challenge that project management is facing today, and how do we best address it? And really, my answer to this, I think, has not really changed that much in the past few years. I created a training course and an ebook at wbscoach.com. And the reason why I did that is because I think that the primary challenge that projects in general have is that they don't define their scope well. And there's a lot of things associated with that besides just the work breakdown structure. But the work breakdown structure is something in particular that, in my experience, a lot of project managers do a bad job of, essentially. Not that they're not trying to do a good job, but if you don't define your scope in clear and concise terms in the beginning and really go through that process of working out exactly what the deliverables are that you're going to deliver to your customer, and then decomposing what exactly it's going to take to do all those things, even on an agile project as well, then you're going to be missing things. And that's, in my experience, that's a lot of what happens when we have schedule overruns and cost overruns in projects, is because things come up halfway through the project. Sometimes it's like you're almost done with the project, and then you find out that there's these other things that you didn't even think of because you didn't go through this process of really thinking through what your scope needs to be on this project. So that's the number one challenge, I think. And I put out my course at wbscoach.com a couple years ago, but obviously not everybody has read it or read the book or gone through the training, so I don't think that we've solved it yet. But that's probably the biggest thing. There's quite a few others, obviously, but if we can get clear on our scope, then we'll be starting off on the right foot in terms of getting our projects completed with the right scope and on time and on budget. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Mark Perry, and I would like to offer my congratulations to Cornelius Fichtner and the Project Management Podcast for having reached episode number 200. Congratulations, well done, and long live the pioneer and king of Project Management Podcasting, Cornelius Fichtner. You know, I remember the very first episode of the Project Management Podcast. It was the first time that I had heard of Cornelius Fichtner, and of course, it was the first time that I had heard his voice. Now, I'm not one to comment about other people's accents and manners of speech, but how about that Cornelius Fichtner? If you were like me, you find the sound of Cornelius's voice to be melodic and soothing, yet full of passion and excitement. I absolutely enjoy listening to Cornelius. Over the years, I have listened to him in the car, on the plane, doing yard work, and I've even listened to Cornelius at the golf driving range. So, when Cornelius asked if I'd be interested in participating in the 200th episode of the Project Management Podcast, I said, you bet. Then I started to think about what I might say, and it didn't take too long to decide upon a topic, and that topic is top 10 tips for keeping your PMO passion. For many PMOs and project organizations, it can be difficult to keep the passion alive. Unlike other organizations that are driven by mission-critical goals to the company, such as making a sales quota, or achieving a market share target, or attaining an earnings per share commitment, PMOs and project organizations usually do not have such blatant and heroic and public victories. As a very talented group of quiet professionals, it can sometimes be hard to keep the passion alive when all you are involved with are issues and problems, and in many situations, unrealistic expectations by management and stakeholders, and not enough commitment by those that have been assigned to your project. So today, I would like to share with you my top 10 tips to keep your PMO and project management passion alive. Tip 1, integrate your passion into your work. For some lucky people, work is their passion, but for many others, work is work. It may or may not be the source of one's passion. In fact, many times it can be the drain on one's passion. So take aim to recognize your many passions, both professionally and personally, and find ways to interweave these passions into your daily work life. Tip 2, eliminate irritating tasks. Make a list of the activities that you don't like to do, then assess the tasks on the list and determine which ones can be compartmentalized or even eliminated. Seek to do the tasks that you hate, but that must be done as quickly as possible so they don't loom overhead nor become overly burdensome. Tip 3, reacquaint yourself with your career. Take time to refresh yourself and reacquaint yourself with the reasons why you've chosen your career. Ask yourself what were your initial goals and motivations, and if anything has changed over time. And write down all that you've accomplished. You might be both surprised and pleased with the outcome. Tip 4, be grateful. It is far too easy to overlook and take for granted that which we should be grateful for. Few people can achieve extraordinary success all on their own, so be grateful to all those who have helped you. Tip 5, surround yourself with good people. Work with and surround yourself with passionate, motivated people. Just as positive attitude is contagious, so too is a negative one. It can be like a deadly workplace virus affecting everyone that comes into contact with it. Tip 6, recognize your passion. Recognize that you have not one but multiple passions. Seek ways to integrate them into your work. There's no better way to enhance productivity, morale, and relationships in the workplace with others than to find and enjoy passions with one another. Tip 7, expect to encounter negativism. Not everyone is passionate. Some people are dispassionate and show little emotional involvement. Others can be skeptical or even negative. Though it can sometimes be frustrating to work with people with less than good attitudes and outlooks, you will encounter it, so therefore you must expect it. Tip 8, a book a week keeps passion from getting weak. At just about any executive development and training program, you will hear how important it is to read at least one business book a week. There is no single and more effective technique to widen one's perspective, hone one's skills, and to fuel one's passions than to read. Tip 9, spread the word. Part of being passionate is spreading your passion about the workplace and amongst others. Don't keep your passion hidden away where only you will know about it. Don't force it, of course. Let it happen naturally. Others will not only notice, but will join in too. And tip 10, have faith in your passion. Oftentimes, passion does not always follow a straight line nor easy path. There will be times when results are clearly not commensurate with effort, and there will be other times when that which you are passionate about is not viewed the same way by others. So remember, if the object of your passion was easy to achieve, then it would not have ever been a passion in the first place. Have faith in your passion and stay committed to getting it right. Results will follow. Well, my time is up now, and I hope you've enjoyed these tips for keeping your PMO passion. This is a topic that is near and dear to me, and I can tell you as a colleague and friend of Cornelius Fishner, it's near and dear to him too. Cornelius is one of the most passionate people I know, and I think it is a key factor in his tremendous success. So let me close by congratulating Cornelius once again on just one of his many outstanding achievements, the 200th episode of the Project Management Podcast. Cornelius, thank you for letting me be part of this special episode. And now I turn the show back over to you.
Hi, this is Margaret Maloney, and you can find my website at www.margaretmaloney.com. It's Meloni, and I wanted to address the question and give congratulations on this exciting episode of podcast. And what do I think is the number one challenge that project management is facing today, and how do we best address it? Well, there's many things that can be discussed here. What I want to focus on is our continued push to get everyone to do more with less, as we've had some tough times over the last few years, and resources are extra lean, but we're pushing our teams and ourselves to accomplish as much as we did in the past. And my concern is that as we do that, we'll become so caught up in the hectic pace that we'll forget about the people. And so you may feel counterintuitive when you have a day when you are so busy that it's all you can do to answer all your messages and do your status reports and create your budgets and update your schedules and make sure you have a good risk management plan, and all of these things are very important. But the more that we demand from people, the better we need to treat them. And so I think the best way to address the challenge of the continued push, the continued hectic pace, is to make sure every day you have time for your people. And by the way, when you take time for your people, that means take time for yourself as well. So don't become a robot running around at a frantic pace creating deliverables. Remember that you get your project work done with people, through people, and by people, and continue to invest in your people and in your soft skills. Thank you for listening, and again, congratulations to the Project Management Podcast.
Hi, this is Tom Mokel. I'm the president of 10Step. Our website is www.10step.com. I think the biggest challenge facing project managers is the problem of trying to assign work and get work done with people that don't report to you functionally. It is very difficult when you're in a matrix organization and you're the project manager trying to get the work done. People don't report to you, and it's hard to get the work done on time in order to get your project to be done on time. So what is the solution? There's no magic formula, but there's a good technique you can use that'll help in this challenge. And the technique is to try to get the person who you are assigning the work to validate the end date and to buy into the end date. And you do that by not giving people the work and telling them here's when it's due, but you say here's the target date, and I want you to validate that you can hit this date. If they say yes, I can hit it, then they have got some buy-in and they've committed to you, and that's going to give you a little more leverage to make sure that the work gets done on time. If they can't hit the date, they're going to tell you then. Now, they may not know then, but the assumption is that if they take the work and they find out later that they can't hit that end date, then they're obligated to tell you as soon as they know, as soon as possible. So this keeps you from the position where you're assigning work that's due in 2 weeks, for instance, and then the person tells you in 2 weeks they can't get it done. Then it's too late. Then the date's already here. So in exchange for giving them some flexibility to validate the end date, you also ask something in return, which is that they need to tell you as soon as they know whether or not they can't hit that date or not. If they can't hit the date and they tell you early, then you have some options. You can raise the priority from their manager. You can assign another resource. You can reassign the work. But you can also ask them to get the work done within the longer time frame. And that, again, allows them to commit to the date and gives you a little more leverage to make sure the work actually gets done. So that's a good technique. It's not the only technique, but it's a good technique to try to get work done with people who don't report to you functionally, is to ask them validate the date so they have buy-in and commitment, or to tell you a better date, which you can then validate, and then again they have the buy-in and commitment to get the work done.
And this is the input I received from my favorite project manager, Max Weidman. It is titled Breaking Out of the Mold. Hello everyone, my name is Max Weidman, and like a lot of people these days, I run a website. The difference is that I started it over 10 years ago and it now has over 12,000 pages of project management information. Yes, really, 12,000. You'll find it at maxweidman.com, and I try to answer all the questions that you can think of. If you have a question that is not answered, contact me at maxweidman@shaw.ca, but I'll be mad if you have not done your homework first. Today's question is, in your opinion, what is the number one challenge that project management is facing today, and how do we best address it? Project management is touted as the modus operandi of the future for those companies seeking a competitive edge in the marketplace. If that is true, then a proper understanding and manner of application needs to be well established and much more widely spread. And valuable though the guide to the project management body of knowledge, the PMBOK guide, is, we are not sure that it meets standards acceptable to the academic community. To make it so requires significant effort, and where will that come from? Life cycle of science development. Consider the development path of a new science or discipline, a path along which project management appears to have progressed so far. The development of a new science may be roughly categorized in the following 6 progressive stages. Stage 1, observations, collection of anecdotes and empirical collection. Stage 2, thesis, generating hypotheses, theorizing based on observations. Stage 3, thesis testing, seeing if what thesis predicts is true, given support or contradiction. Stage 4, antithesis, generating competing theories. Stage 5, new position, introducing theory that explains all of the foregoing. Stage 6, mature science, a well-established discipline. Again, if this categorization is true, it is probably fair to say that our present understanding of project management is wobbling around stage 3, that is, thesis testing. If so, then it appears that we still have a long way to go, with ample opportunity for focused academic research. Project management as a discipline is interesting because it consists of a number of integrated functional areas or sub-disciplines. Some of these functions are comparatively well established, such as cost and time management. These have well-established principles of planning, measuring, and control, whereas other areas are but young neophytes and are not so responsive to the same approach. This is especially true of those areas encompassing people relationships and involving psychological influence, such as in communication, contract negotiations, personnel management, including power, authority, and responsibility, managing cultural differences, and so on. Project management may be about getting things done, but it is also about the process or manner of getting things done if customer satisfaction is to be achieved and the project, or more importantly, the product, is acclaimed as successful. In the development of the PMBOK guide particularly, we have seen that project management encompasses both objectives, scope, quality, time and cost, and subjectives, risk, human resources, contract, procurement commitment, and communications. Therefore, project management needs both product people, object-oriented and relatively predictable, as well as process people, subject-oriented and often unpredictable. Unfortunately, conflict typically arises when the product people on the project are trying to get the process finished, while the process types are trying to keep the enjoyment going. Project management, teaching and learning materials must necessarily encompass both worlds. Such materials must be at one and the same time be scientific and provable, as well as pragmatic and practical. Unfortunately, our traditional academic systems do not respond well to this integrated requirement. The North American academic system is built around the concept of reductionism. That is to say, like a work breakdown structure, you can take anything and reduce it down to smaller and smaller pieces. This approach is, for example, very successful in physics. Every other science has attempted to follow this model, and indeed may have followed it very successfully. As a result, many of our academic institutions are also arranged around this model and are characterized by science specializations. This is also reflected in their institutional journal publications, and the content of each closely reflects the degree of maturity of each specialization. For example, the Project Management Institute relies heavily on its published standards to inform the majority of its members of practice expectations. These standards are supported by associated certifications, and approved lecturing is encouraged. However, this rigid focus arising from the strategy of analysis fostered by a scientific review process may actually hamper intellectual progress. The reason is because the psychological disciplines do not respond well to the classic scientific reductionism model. Rather, they respond better to an environmental systems approach, that is to say, to an understanding of relationships requiring a situational response. We need all project management practitioners to recognize this problem and to demand a paradigm shift. And the sooner, the better. Max Weidman.
Hi, this is Jason from ProjectManager.com, the CEO. I've been asked the question, what is the number one challenge that project management is facing today? And I'd like to answer that from my perspective here. I think that the number one challenge is keeping project managers trained as a formal discipline. 10 years ago, pretty much every project manager that I knew of was trained. They had a formal certification. They were like a builder or electrician or a plumber or a doctor. You know, they had a formal certification. They had stacks of training, and then they would jump into the market and gain the experience. But now most project managers that I speak to are relatively new to it. They don't have lots of, they may have lots of experience, but they don't have lots of qualifications. In fact, the percentage of people that I'm seeing in the market that have some kind of formal qualification is getting a lot less. And I'm seeing, as a percentage, for the majority of people on the market at the moment, I'm seeing less methodology implementations, less formal training, less formal project planning, less formal policies, less structure. And so I think the challenge really is to keep project management as a formal discipline, because I see it going the opposite direction. It's maybe not helped by the fact that most tools in the market these days are kind of simple to-do list type tools, and that's what people are using. Whereas for ProjectManager.com, you know, you create a formal project plan, and only a percentage of the market are kind of trained enough to do that. A lot of the market now are really just managing tasks, a lot smaller packets of work, and so I think the challenge really for project management is in trying to keep it as a trained discipline, and therefore keep project managers formally trained, using some kind of methodology and structure, having a qualification, and really trying to improve the success of their projects by doing so. So that's my opinion, and we'll see what happens over the next 10 years. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.
And that was part 1 of 4 of our anniversary episode. That's it for right now. Thank you very much for listening. Please join us again in part 2. As always, you can find us on the web at pm-podcast.com. Please send your emails to info@pm-podcast.com, and when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. Until next time,